Come on. There it goes. Hi, and welcome to Ladies of the Paranormal World. Today, you are here with your host, Dark Angel. Wendigo and Skinwalker. Drusilla will be with us shortly. And today we have our VVVIP. I don't think there's anyone more important than Bobby Mackey, or may I say Robert Randall Mackey? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what it says on my.
And today we're here to talk about Bobby Mackey, his love of music, how he entered the industry, and just it's all about my Bobby Mackey today. Normally I do paranormal investigation, but today is all about Bobby Mackey. So, Mr. Bobby, could you go ahead and start off telling us with where you're from right now, and then we'll go and talk about a little bit further back.
Okay, I was born and raised in Concord, Kentucky, about an hour from Cincinnati. When I got out of high school, down here to the Cincinnati area on the northern Kentucky side of the river, I went to work on the railroad. I was a road brakeman on the railroad, and a few years down the line, I got laid off on the railroad and full time, and got with a band and started playing music. And by the time the railroad called me back, I stayed with music.
Oh, wow. Okay. So my first question is going to be, what was it like growing up in Kentucky? Because I'm from Pennsylvania, Washington State, moved to Pennsylvania. They're in Vegas. What's it like in Kentucky?
Well, a lot of hills, and my dad and he also ran a grocery store. So I grew up working in my dad's grocery store, and we raised a lot of tobacco and hay.
Wow. So was it a full-on tobacco farm?
Yeah, we had back then it was acreage and poundage a lot later than that, but we raised 12 acres of tobacco, two brothers and I.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we know, I'm sure most of the audience anyway, one song, Johanna, but I know, because I like your music, I'm quite a fan. Lucille is probably one of my top favorites.
Thank you.
And
That song did real well for me. It's on YouTube, and right now as we speak, I've got a #1 song on the independent chart, also on YouTube. It's called "Let Me Drink About It."
oh, wow. Would you mind giving us a little bit of a snippet of that? Because I haven't had a chance to listen to that one yet.
Well, it's I kind of doubt it. Anyway, within just a few weeks' time, it went to #1 in the charts, independent charts, and the main charts to what they call country is not country. So the independent is where the traditional country is, and that's where my niche is, and I've got a lot of, and they play my music a lot.
Right. So let's learn a little bit about Bobby Mackey. Where did you go to school?
And well, there's a little grade school called Covedale. Right now, they named that stretch of highway after me.
Really?
It goes Concord, where my dad's grocery store was, out past the house where I was born and raised, on out to past the grade school where I went to grade school. It's called Bobby Mackey High.
Oh, wow. That's really cool, actually. I'd love to have something named after me. Usually it's my kid.
I thought it was. Every time I go up there back home to visit, dust off of it, what I mean?
Wow. It's Kentucky, I've always heard, is hot. When it's hot, it's hot. When it's cold, it's cold.
Yeah, well, you know, back when I was storms, it would snow. When we'd have to go out and feed cattle, we had days. A lot of times in the wintertime, but it doesn't seem to snow that much around here.
Oh, really? We get a lot of snow here.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of it. uh,
yeah.
Generally tends to cause car accidents, and it's too daggone cold for me. So, when did you find Bobby Mackey's nightclub? What made you fall in love with that building in particular?
Well, I guess we should back up you to the point to where uh, when I was 4 years old, and the first time I heard Hank Williams Sr. sing, was hooked. My life was changed forever, and it set me on a path. I still love the music, and that's what it's all about for me. But I got laid off on the railroad and started playing music with a band. I played at 3 different clubs back of Cincinnati, on the north side of Cincinnati, and right in that area, I played in 3 different nightclubs, and and they every time I those 3 clubs were like 10 minutes apart, and every time I'd go from one club, and so I my own place, so I started looking, and I found in northern Kentucky, just across the river from Cincinnati, I found this old building that had been. It was an old gambling casino, and but back in the late 18, the site was a slaughterhouse. And but when I looked at the club the first time, I guess I just had to have it. It just felt right out of work, and I'm there 44 years later. I'm still there, and it still needs but it works. It does what I needed to do, and oh, you know, trying to get the place open in the beginning. I was there was a boy right up the from right up the
Mm-hmm.
street, and he was 18 down there looking at the place and making plans to get it cleaned up
Hi,
and
Natalia.
carpet in and stuff. What happened?
Oh, we have live guests that come on and ask questions too, so I was recognizing or saying hi to them.
Kind of threw me off there. I just
I'm sorry
wasn't
about
ready for
that. Go
that,
right
but
on ahead.
that's so. So Carl came through the door. We were down there, clean the place up. It needs some painting and stuff like that. And Carl came to the door and said, "Hi, I'm Carl. I just live up the street. If you need it, I'm available. If you need me to help you." Well, he and so we put him to work painting and cleaning, and as we find, became he became the guy that took care of the place and stocked and always had the nightclub ready for us. But during that time, before, Carl kept trying to say things to me, and I wasn't paying much of attention because at that point of this, and had to make it work, and I didn't want no distractions. Sometimes I wouldn't even hear what he said. But he got my attention one day, and he started telling me some things. I said, "Carl, what are you talking about? Are you talking about something about this place going on, or what?" And he shook his head, and he said, "Oh, you wouldn't believe what." And I, I said, "Well, I'll tell you what. I don't want to scare people off before I ever get the doors open."
Yeah, yeah.
So he, so I told him not to say anything about it, not talk about it to nobody, and he didn't. But about 10 years in, uh, Douglas in the club, and he became a good friend of mine, and he told stories and stuff, and selling them to some publisher, and read me part of a story he had written to send. He read me some passages from it. I said, yeah, this place. Uh, there's a story about this place Carl's been trying to tell me about for years. I said, he says the place is haunted, and Doug just became obsessed with it. Tried to talk to him, asking him questions about it, and Carl wouldn't talk to him. So Doug would come to me and tell me to tell Carl they worried me to death all night. And I really didn't think, but he started investigating, and he worked, and he was absolutely obsessed with it. And I finally said, well, go ahead, Carl, you can tell him whatever you've been trying to tell me. I wouldn't. So it went from there, and Doug wrote this book called Hell's Gate. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard of it. I didn't read it, but I did hear of it.
Hell's Gate is the name of the book that Doug wrote, and it we were on, and anyway, and I wrote a song about it. Have you heard?
I'm trying to think back because there's a lot of music that I listen to.
Well,
I don't think. Maybe say a couple of the lyrics. I may have heard it.
It's about the club. It goes along with the book and the story about the club and the haunts, like a synopsis of that.
Oh yeah. Okay, I think I know which one you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
Way back in the 30s, in the little town of Wilder, lived an old man and his lovely
pretty little daughter,
ran gambling
lovely little
for a living. Yeah, they ran gambling. It was the best place around. All the men would come and lay their money down.
Yes, I've heard this song. Okay, it's one of the ones that I like the most. I just never knew the name of it.
Yeah, it's on YouTube also. It's got a lot of hits. I don't know. It's
I was gonna say, I think that's the one that I actually played when we first started the show. The entry to, or the entrance of.
Yeah, it's probably got over 1 million views on.
Yes, I think so. There's a little bit of a lag, so you're kind of breaking in and out. So I'm trying to hear you, but that one and Johanna and Lucille. Lucille's another really famous and favorite popular song out there.
Yeah, I did it. It was a Kenny Price hit, but it was slow. It was a slow song, like a ballad thing, and I asked her and recorded my own version of it.
Oh wow! Okay. When did you start doing that song, or what inspired you to do that song? Walter, Wendigo.
Yes.
I think we lost. Where did Bobby go? Oh, there you are. There you are.
Are we
there
on?
we go. I don't know what happened. You're good. Okay, so what inspired you to?
Are we on?
Do that song? Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, honey?
I don't know what to do.
Oh boy. Can he not hear me?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Can you hear us?
I don't know what to do with it.
Oh no, we lost Bobby.
Oh no, we lost him. Hang on, guys. We're having some technical difficulties. Let's try this again. Let's see if I can't get him back on. I don't know what just happened.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Let me see here. Where'd Bobby go? I tried calling the number he gave me, but it goes right to voicemail. So.
Your call has been forwarded to
Automatic voice message system.
Huh?
He's repeating the voicemail.
I said, you have been. The whole damn voice message system where you automatically.
Do you have him on Facebook?
I have him on Twitter. Oh, there he is.
It's all new to me.
All right, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think everything on here.
Okay, so now you just got to turn your camera around.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do it.
He's having a little
we
bit of
doing now?
trouble.
I don't know how to work this.
That's all right. She'll get you taken care of. We got you looking at your shoes or your feet right now.
Never done that before.
It's all right. We'll get you. Oh, and we lost him again. Oh, and they're back.
I don't know. How we doing now? It's the camera's
Well, I
reversed.
can still see your feet.
Reversed. Turn it around.
There we go. Oh, well, I saw your face there
How's
for a
that?
second. There we go. There we go. Now I can see you.
I just turned the camera around.
Hey, it works.
There we go. All right, now we got you back. Yeah, I tried calling the number to get you fixed up, but it keeps going straight to voicemail.
Well, that's because I'm on it.
Okay, so let's try that again. We were talking about the song and what inspired you into writing or rewriting that song.
Well, I was getting ready to record an album, and that's one that I'd always liked. And I got the idea to just pick up a lot different than what Kenny Rogers did, and it turned out really good for me.
It did. It turned out great. Again, it's another one of my favorites. So, way back in the 30s. Let's go way back in the 30s. Now, you were telling me a little bit about Carl and how you came to possess the bar and how it took a little bit of work and TLC to get it up and running. Once it was up and running, what was your ideal dream for that nightclub?
We can make it popular, and I didn't figure I'd be there 44 years, but here I am. It works, and I actually got the place my music the way I wanted to.
I had spoken to your manager about that.
Other club owners would, like I said, 3 different clubs back in Cincinnati before I got my club, and it was just something I needed to have my own place, and so when it went, and I didn't have any plans for any particular, I was just I planned to move to Nashville. In fact,
okay.
In fact, Nashville at the time, or get my own club, and I decided to do that. And as I didn't realize social media would come along, and no matter, I don't have to be in Nashville, no matter where I am, I can be on social media everywhere.
Yes, you can. Absolutely. Because everybody's got Twitter and Facebook and all those extras nowadays. So you wanted to go to Nashville. Were you planning to go for like the what do you call it? That wonderful building that does all the music. Okay.
Grand Ole Opry?
Yeah, the Grand Ole Opry. Was that your dream, is to end up on the Grand Ole Opry?
Yeah, because I grew up listening to the Grand Ole Opry, as a kid, and I got a guitar when I was 8 years old, and my mom taught me to play, and I'd grab my guitar and play and sing along with the Grand Ole Opry, and but it was a big dream, but but not anymore. The Grand Ole Opry is not the same. They don't even lean on real country music anymore.
Unfortunately, that is very, very, very true. So outside of the Grand Ole Opry, you've got some really great records. As you've gone through your music career, you were talking about you wanted to do it your way. Now, I talked to your manager a little bit, and he gave me a little bit of an insight on that. Everybody wanted you to do their music their way. Is that something that became a problem for you, and that's why you decided that you were going to open Bobby Mackey's nightclub?
Well,
Music World?
it wasn't a problem, but you know, I'm traditional. You know, club owners would always want the band to, you know, pick up the pace. I never would do that.
Right. Okay, so I know you're not a fan of new age country. So what is your classic country favorite?
My classic country favorite. Oh, I wouldn't even know where to start. But Merle Haggard's been my favorite singer. Hank Williams Sr. You know, when I heard his voice, as I said earlier, when I heard him, and then later on, when I was in my teens, Buck Owens, my big hero, and then Merle Haggard come along, and you know that George Jones and people like that is where I got my inspiration.
They are some really, really great artists. Now, I know I try to stick to paranormal, so I do have to get into that a little bit today. It's all about Bobby Mackey, but I do want to talk a little bit about when things started going bump in the night at Bobby Mackey's Music World. When did you start getting reports that things were happening?
Well, I don't know. Little by little, it would always say that things were happening, and I know a little bit about what he was talking about, but I never paid any attention to it first.
Mm-hmm. Now, what kind
I
of
just never
things would he say was happening there?
Well, you know, he told Doug about it. It ended up in Doug's book, and clearer to me then that Carl had been with the situation there.
Right. I know Carl is passed on, bless his soul, but in his time in his employment there were sayings a lot that he was conflicted with whatever had been there at the bar or is there at the bar. Now, would you mind talking? I know he's not here to talk for himself, so would you mind telling his story a little bit?
Was meek and quiet and shy, nobody, but he always had a different personality. I wouldn't know who I was going to get. He had different personalities, and to figure out how to actually deal with him.
No, he isn't there.
One time I was down there. It was in November, and we were in the basement, in the room where the well was later there, which that's how the book got the title Hell's Gate. There was a well in that room, but Carl and I were down there. I saw some holes picked in the floor, like a pickaxe chopped in the floor. And I had a flashlight. I saw it, and he said, "I don't know." He told me he didn't know. So I could see perfectly well under that floor. There was a mouth of a well. Was when they covered that well. That well was used to drain the house to the Licking River.
Right, which now the Licking River runs behind the property. Is that correct?
Licking River runs. There's only a railroad track between a licking club, and there was a well. There was a well that went under that railroad. Well, I could see there was a well there perfectly. It had been full of. It had been filled up with dirt, but through the years with vibrations and it was really dried out. It became powder, sank down about a foot, and that was the well that where they drained the blood, and a lot of things in that room to Carl, and I don't, I don't think, and he must have gone through a whole lot, and
Right.
Carl was just a meek person, no way, shape, or form an actor, you know, and 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 he got to drinking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody was ever possessed, I'd have to say he probably was.
Right. Now, I know they showed a little bit here and there because I know Ghost Adventures has been there, Ghost Hunters has been there, all kinds of different paranormal investigative groups have been there. But one of the videos they do show, and it's quite a famous one now, is a exorcism that was performed on Carl.
Yes, there was an exorcism on him, but this conducted that, and they wanted me to come down there, and I wouldn't go. I didn't want no part of it. I wouldn't go down there, but that when I saw that video of it, because Carl was it sure wasn't Carl in that video.
It's very disturbing if anybody's ever watched it, and if I had time I'd go and look it up and play it for people, but maybe I'll do that another time. I know that it's very disturbing to watch because he's screaming, "This body is mine, this body is mine." Was he ever behaving that way besides the exorcism? Did things like that happen to him prior to the exorcism?
Uh, he was there. There was always stuff going on, but the club was always clean. The beer was stocked. He always did what he was supposed to do, but alcohol took the best of him.
I do believe that they said something to that effect, and unfortunately, alcoholism is a very big thing in this country. Most countries, really, but unfortunately, it took a big part of him. There are other people that say that there are the souls or the spirits of, oh, what was her name? She was beheaded, apparently, and her head
Pearl
thrown
Bryan.
into the well.
Pearl
Bryan. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. They say they see Pearl Bryan, and they say that they see her killers. Is there any weight to that?
Well, I don't know. Find her head, and these two the UC dental school, one of them, and she became pregnant, and those two dental students, I don't know the whole story, but they attempted an abortion or something, and she died. They removed her head, thinking nobody would identify her, and
That's pretty
they left her.
gruesome.
Yeah, I guess so. And there was I know right where the pasture field, more built up around there now, but back then it was just a pasture field and a path, and across that path, and put a coat over her shoulders where some guy on his way to work the next morning early on his body laying there and picked the coat up off of her, and there was no head. So that's all that's true and documented. And,
right. I actually found the article because I did a prerequisite episode on you prior to having you on. And one of the things that they had said was both men were hung. So they were convicted. So the crime did happen.
Yes. In 1896, the courthouse in Newport, Kentucky, Campbell County Courthouse, they hung those guys, and an opportunity to tell where the head was, and he would commute their sentence to life, and wouldn't tell.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, if you got a chance between life and death, uh, why wouldn't you
Well,
just tell him where the head was?
and Doug Hensley's investigation come up with where worshippers.
Right. You know, that's another thing that I've heard.
And it was Alonzo Walling and Scott Jackson were the mental students' names, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on. And Carl was the a whole lot at what's in
Right.
the book.
I've heard anything from shadows to cowboys and boots to demonic entities in the well room.
Yeah.
I know you didn't believe in it at the time, and I know that you didn't really want much to do with it at the time. Right now, as it sits, has your view on it changed at all?
Well, yes and no. People have come from all over the world. Ghost Adventures has been there doing. They've done several shows on it. Brothers were in there, and there's a show that's getting ready to come out by them this month because of how Brothers did a show there. Nick Groff and Aaron did the original Ghost Adventure show. They've done about 3 or 4 documentaries on it, and it just goes on and on.
I was going to say it's been investigated a lot.
Yeah, I used to say that I didn't, and I still don't. But people have come from everywhere. They come and spend the night in there time and time again. People come there investigating. So many people believing it and saying that there's something there. Then, a little bit, I'm still going to say it's all about the music for me. I'm not into
absolutely.
I'm not into the paranormal, but there must be something going on there, and I don't want to insult them by rolling my eyes and not act to believe it.
Yeah, well, it's something that is controversial. The paranormal is a controversial field to begin with, and
Yes.
It depends on how much you truly believe in it. I personally believe in it, but not everybody does. But I feel that if you've got enough people showing you enough evidence, that there's got to be something going on.
More people believe in it than don't.
This is true. So back to the music, because I only wanted to do a small section of Bobby Mackey's paranormal. So we're going to go back to all about Bobby Mackey, and we're going to try and fit as much of you in as humanly possible, because you've had 50 years of music. That's 50 beautiful years of creating some of the most soulful music in the country. How does it feel to hit that 50-year mark and still say, I can still do it?
It feels pretty good, to be the 8 years before going 44 years now, and I guess I'm probably going to the 50 years there in 6 more years. I'm still going strong. They like my country music, and they know when they come there, it's going to be country. And many places around anymore that play traditional country. It's always that it's
modern.
It's certainly not country. But so I'm in the Cincinnati area where you can find it.
Right, absolutely. And traditional country's hard to come by nowadays. And I think your nightclub is one of the more unique places where you can actually find it. Now, do you still take the stage at Bobby Mackey's? Do you still get up there?
Built around me, and it'll die with me.
There you go. There's a man that'll keep singing it strong. Wendigo, Skinwalker, Drusilla, go ahead and chime in. This is like the world's most famous traditional country singer here.
Did you ever think that you would be at this point, like be successful the way you are? Did you ever think about that
Well,
when you first started? Or did you like question everything along the way?
well, I knew what I wanted to do. There wasn't nothing going to stop me from doing that. And whatever, how far I took that, but I just kept pushing and pushing and playing my music and releasing records. I feel pretty good about where I'm at with it right now.
That's awesome. They got themselves muted, so they got to unmute.
Um, my question is, was there any like hiccups or hard parts during your career?
Well, running the nightclub than it was my career.
It's harder running the nightclub than it is the career.
Yeah, there were lots of hiccups with the nightclub, but on my music, and I've marched right through any problems I've ever had. I've marched right work.
Wendigo?
I got nothing at the moment. I'm thinking.
They never have. These guys, we call them eye candy, okay? Everybody just likes to look at them. They're pretty faces. Okay, so in your 50 years of music and your 50 years of career, what places have you got to check off of your bucket list that you got to perform?
Actually, I was on the Ernest Tubbs Midnight Jamboree in Nashville, 18. But that, I had my whole career ahead of me then. But that was a big highlight, right there in Nashville, right close to where the Grand Ole Opry was, which was play there. But I got to play the Ernest Tubbs Midnight Jamboree, which was a close. Anyway, I've had a chance to go out in Texas and do some in the past couple of years, and I've gotten to meet a lot of great singers and great. It's kind of introduced me to a whole different part of and where Western swing was born, and
Right.
And I like Western swing music, and there are dance halls all over Texas. Opportunity to visit some of them, and it's been great to do that, just to meet a lot of new people.
So I have to ask, because I've never had the chance to actually have a music artist on my show. Do you ever just jam out to your own music?
Yeah, I'm constantly working on music. I'm always going to be my goal is to record as many songs and have them. I like to get 50 songs unreleased when so I can keep releasing records for years, or my wife can release records after I'm gone.
Yeah, there you go. Now that's really awesome. I don't think I've ever heard of a goal like that. That's pretty cool. Maybe I ought to make that mine. I'm gonna just record a whole bunch, and that way when I die, they can keep showing them.
That's what I'm doing, and I keep running across songs that I like, and I'm always looking for songs. Songwriters listening in, if they want to send me some of their songs, it's at AOL.com is my email address, and anybody wants to send me some, I'd love to check them out.
Absolutely. Bobby Mackey, you are a legend. And how does it feel to be a legend? Because, anybody can be a star. It takes a real person, a real amazing artist to be a legend.
Well, list, and it's I'm grateful that I've got my music out there. And I'm grateful that people like it. It doesn't. I keep my feet on the ground. I don't see it. I just, but I'm glad to have it out there.
Your music has gotten a lot of people through a lot of hard times. Go for it, Skinwalker. I see
if, if you were to give somebody advice on being successful in their career, what advice would that be?
Well, never give up. Never give up. If you got a goal and you can play and sing, and anybody that they know if people are liking what they're doing or not, and if the people like, nobody stop you. As long as the people like it, that's all that matters.
Some of the hardest thing in the world is to get recognized. So how did you get recognized? That is the hardest thing to really be able to do.
Well, the social media, but I was just consistent and always in the nightclub singing and playing wherever I could, and I'd get bookings out from time to time and play other places, most comfortable in my own nightclub, and you know, it's been such a whirlwind. I have to stop something, think about how great it has been for me.
Right now, someone with 50 years of experience. What are some of your most memorable experiences? Some of the ones that really made your life feel like it was worth every single struggle you've been through?
I don't know. It's just been one great ride, and I really can't pinpoint anything at this. Lots of stories that funny things that have happened along the way, but I just kept put one foot in front of the other, trucking.
That's awesome. It's really awesome to have somebody who you can idolize. And honestly, you're one of the people that I've idolized just most of my life. So, not just your success, but you as a person. You stayed genuine, stayed rooted to the ground. You stayed in your cultural and everything that was close to home. You stayed that way. What would be your advice to others to be able to stay rooted as the person you are, not change who you are along with whatever fame you may have come across?
Well, be true to yourself, and if people, I'll say again, if you're playing and singing, if you're playing in a nightclub, if people are paying attention to you and dancing to your music, that's just that that's about the only way I can say it, and always gauged as to how many people was coming in the club to hear them. That's just proof of the pudding.
Yeah, I know a lot of people along the way tend to lose themselves in the fame and in the glory, and they get lost in drugs and alcohol. Um, is it difficult to stay out of that kind of scene, really?
Well, I never did care for drinking that much. I I do as a just a relaxer. Did like that part of it. But I've been doing it all these years. A couple drinks don't hurt nothing, and I sing better.
Yeah, there you go. I love that. He sings better when he drinks.
Waiting for that.
I think a lot of things are better when you drink, people say. Like people look better, you know.
Your pool game gets better. I know mine does. You know, it's pretty awesome. Oh, go for it, Wendigo.
Okay, so my question for you is: when you first performed, were you anxious or nervous about performing?
Well, the internal drive that I had overrode that. It was like I had a I had a place to go with my music, and my drive instinct for it always overrode that. But when the I'd get uptight a whole lot, and I wanted to relax, singing like I do, and that's about all.
Right. I know nerves can be a thing for some, but if you're in the music industry and that's your dream, I guess you got to find a way to overcome that.
Yeah, it's uh, it's it's the thing that always drove through it all.
Right. And I know as you were growing through your growing pains, I would call it, of your career, what would be the hardest time that you fell on building your career?
Uh, did I hear you correct about?
The
I don't
hardest,
know if
yeah,
I.
the hardest thing that you've ever been through.
Well, after I first opened the club, uh, we had some fire department issues, and they demanded it be installed. And
Mm-hmm.
I just opened it up, and they were put a sprinkler system in, so I had to find a way to have a sprinkler system installed and be able to pay for it.
Oh wow, that's kind of difficult.
That was
So
a
how
trick.
did you overcome that challenge?
Little,
Oh, I'm sorry, you cut out, honey.
little by,
Little by little, I got you. Um,
yeah.
so you know, one of my questions that I have to ask: if you have people come in, I know you have a saying, and would you mind just telling everybody that saying, because everybody always goes for the ghosts, but you go for what else?
Come for the ghosts and stay for the music.
That's right. So
And there's one more saying. After all these saying is, uh, let me got a blank spot. The
oh,
way
that's
it
all right.
was is the way it was is still
The way it was is what, honey?
it is.
Ah, gotcha. You broke up a little bit. Um, so
Well,
a
I'll say it
little
again.
bit
Let
left
me say it
on
again.
the show.
The way it was is still the way it is.
There we go. Now we got it full. That's better. Um, so you also have another thing on your nightclub, and it is a warning. I have to know what inspired you to put that warning up.
Well, there was a guy in there one night that said he got accosted by the ghost in the men's room. So he said it took his breath away, and he passed out in there.
Oh gosh.
Uh, he filed a lawsuit because a new Western shirt, and he fell down the floor and he damaged his shirt, and they tried to sue me for that. And
Dude.
the
What?
the the judge told him in court, he said you're gonna have to take it up with a higher power. and he dismissed.
I like that.
So the judge and my attorney said I should put something up. You know.
So now, what does that warning read? Because I think it's hysterical, but not everybody's been to the bar. No, not everybody's been to your nightclub and seen it. So, what's that warning?
The place is purported to be haunted, and you enter the place at your own risk. Effect.
Yep. There you go. So if you go to Bobby Mackey's and you want to sue him, good luck. There's a warning on that one too, just like warning on a deodorant label. You ain't supposed to eat it.
but you can dance all you want to.
Absolutely. You know, Bobby Mackey's, I really hope to make it up there one day because it would make the highlight of my life. Because I'm all the way out in Pennsylvania. So you're a good hike from me.
It
but
really ain't
I
that
do.
far. You can get down here.
Well, let's see. I'm thinking about 18 hours ish on a good day.
Probably, yeah.
And that's if I don't bring the kids. I mean, if I go to Bobby's, I don't want the kids anyway.
Yeah,
but the music and the booze.
The kids would add like another 10 hours.
Yeah, they would. Make it a 2-day trip. I mean, we went down to Florida and it took us takes 12 hours took almost 16. So, or maybe it takes almost 16 hours. Either way, it added about a good 5 or 6 hours to the trip.
It's about 14 or 16 hours to Florida from here. For you from Florida.
Yeah. Oh well, hold on. I might be closer then. I'm gonna have to look at a map.
No, you're further. We're a lot
Florida's all
closer
the way
to
down on the.
Florida than you.
Oh.
Than you are.
See, my geography sucks. That's one class I wasn't too good in. I'm gonna have to look at it to be for sure because your manager's like, "Oh, we'll roll out the red carpet for you." I was like, "You know what? That's awesome."
Yeah,
I just gotta find a way there.
Absolutely.
But you know, I love your music. I love talking to you, and you know, I would love if you feel up to it sometime later on to have an update with you on the show. But I've got about another 7 minutes, so let's give a little bit more about yourself here before I have to say goodnight to our guests.
Okay.
So, in your past, any experiences whatsoever, did you personally have any experiences at the bar that you couldn't understand, that you couldn't quite explain? But even if you didn't believe in it at the time, just kind of made you look over your shoulder a little bit.
Well, I've had a couple things. I was in there one night by myself, and I was cleaning up some of the games. We got a punching bag like in the Urban Cowboy movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow. Okay.
Movie, we had a punching bag like that, and I went in there one night. It was a night it was closed, and we were closed, and I went in to clean the cord. I heard some noises I couldn't explain. It sounded like a couple of cats. I couldn't figure out where it come from.
Oh wow, that's odd.
It was frightening, and I had a flashlight. I left the table right next to, right behind the punching bag where I was this drawer and was pulling the quarters out of it down on the table, and I saw lights of flashing. My flashlight had rolled off the table and crashed on the floor half to death.
Oh my gosh. Now, everybody talks about the well room. I got to ask you, have you ever been in the well room long enough to experience anything like that they report?
No. See, at the time, the story I told you, the holes that were chopped in the floor. Later on, we removed that floor and part of the tour. Now we get tours on Friday and Saturday nights when we're open for business. We got a tour guide that takes people down and explains all of it to them, and because we took that floor away, so anybody can see the itself, and there are people who come from all over. We got a group, Gatekeeper Paranormal. It's normal. They handle tours during the week and stuff, and during the week, but except for Friday and Saturdays, and of course we give the tours at people. The tour guide takes people to the basement if they want to.
Oh wow! Okay.
And they can experience the well and all of that themselves.
Right. We've heard. Well, I've watched a lot of different documentaries that they've shown. The well room is very fascinating, but the nightclub itself is also fascinating because there's been stories of things that happen in the men's room, loud bangings and things like that happens. Have you, besides the one gentleman, had anybody tell you anything like that?
Yeah. Well, the place has a life of its own, and everything pretty much as original. It was called the Latin Quarter back in the and the way it was when the gambling was going on, as much as I can, or as I could have, as much like it was an old throwback place. It's vintage. And we got on the spot where the craps table used to set for the gambling years ago.
Oh wow, okay. So now how big is the vodka? What? Okay. So how big is Bobby Mackey's? Because from an outside perspective, it looks like a fairly small sized on the inside. Is it more spacious than that?
Yes, that will fool you. It's been built onto so many times back through the years. It was originally a 1920, right about like a roadside tavern called the Bluegrass Cafe, or Bluegrass Inn. That's what it was.
Oh,
and
okay.
But it was just onto it toward the railroad track, toward it that way, and they built onto it all the way around.
Wow.
That picture you see that's along the highway, that highway is Licking Pike. You can see where it runs along the highway. It's about 4 times the size of what it looks like.
Oh wow, okay. When I have you on here again, I would love to share some of your music. Of course, copyrights, I have to make sure that's all right with you first. But I would love to have you on again and to share some of your music and talk more about your professional career as you've gone through from beginning to end. Well, hasn't ended yet, but when it does end,
you know how to get a hold of me. We'll do it.
That's awesome. Again, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for being on our show tonight. And stick around so I can talk to you for a couple minutes off air. So
okay. Well, thank you. It's been and you're going to have to get down here and see us sometime.
I would love to. I just got to find my roots there because I am terrified of flying. Believe it or not, not everybody was meant to be in an airplane. I'm one of them.
Hey, so what I'll do is I'll drive to you, and then we'll drive back, and we'll visit Bobby.
Yeah, there we go. We'll do that. We'll do it that way. You're gonna have to drive me there.
You go.
You want to pick us too?
Good plan.
I mean, it'll take me a little longer, seeing that I'm in Vegas, but we'll do it.
Right. But like, I have this belief that if God had wanted me to fly, he'd have given me wings. I guess that's how I see it. So I don't really want to go in it. So be in the car. But we're gonna do my outro. And anybody, if you have questions for Bobby Mackey, now would be the time before I end the show. Because he is awesome. He's amazing. His music's amazing. And now's your chance to go ahead and throw some questions in while I go through the outro. Right? You might see the side of the screen where that's where the questions will pop up if anybody's asking anything. That's if I didn't cover it already. Oh, there we
Hello.
Yes. Maria, are you frozen?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh,
I'm still here.
yeah. You're doing the ending.
I'm still here. I didn't touch nothing, so I don't know what happened.
Nope, you're still here. I'm still here.